Good evening, Niner faithful. Welcome to another episode of the Sneakerhead call-in show. Very excited to have members of the channel calling in for the video call-in session that we have going tonight, as it is every Thursday night. So what does it mean to be a sneakerhead? Well, it means that you are a member of the channel. You have to join. It's what happens when after you subscribe to the channel, there's a little join link that pops up. You have to join the channel, and then you have a little bit of skin in the game, right? Then you are a member, you're supporting the channel, and you can pop on in video, and I trust that nothing strange is going to, nothing too strange, nothing stranger than what happens on this channel anyway is going to happen. Very excited about it. The link is in the description. The link that I left in the description right now will take you over to my YouTube page to the community tab where there is a StreamYard link to call in. Once you've done that, you will be backstage. Right now, I have Kim, Korean 49er, waiting, who's going to be first up. Sean 951 Niners coming on right after that. And after that, we shall see who calls in, but that will bring you backstage and we will go from there. If we got a lot of people waiting backstage, we'll make sure to keep the show moving. Don't you worry. You won't have to wait too long. All right, Korean 49er entering. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Uh-oh, we don't have audio. Nope, currently no audio. You want to go out and come back in? Okay, you got it. You got it. All right, I will wait just a second to see if Kim is able to get back in. Otherwise, we will go to that Niner guy followed by Sean 951 Niners because I know that Sean has something he needed to do in the meantime. All right, Korean 49er, we are going to try that one again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We've got audio. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. StreamYard kind of has those quirks every once in a while. So
it very much does. StreamYard, I've still got up my between two beards. Look at that. I got to change it up. I got to get myself proper here. What's going on? All right, there we go. Now we got the better backdrop. Yeah, no, StreamYard is she's a finicky girl at times. Sometimes she takes away audio. Sometimes, the video's a little choppy. You got to bear some patience with StreamYard.
Yep. So I'd like to talk to you about everyone's favorite 49ers topic, which is the current starting quarterback who shall not be named at this current time.
Okay,
we all know who that is. To me, if the 49ers get somehow finagle a first-round pick from a organization that's desperate to win, that's great. Hopefully, they'll be able to do that. But to me, I don't see why Philly is a choice for these reasons. They boo Santa Claus. They also booed
Philly
when Michael
fans
Irvin.
Are very finicky.
They also booed when Michael Irvin hurt his neck and had to retire after that.
And also, that's not a proud moment.
And they also throw coins and batteries at people all the time, which I don't understand. But some people have a lot of money to burn on to do those kind of things. But whatever.
And some people just aren't very nice. I think that comes down to it. If you're throwing anything at a player on the field, in my book, you're just not a very good person.
Yeah. So that's my first thing is I don't see why Jimmy would go to Philadelphia just because, let's say he throws a pass to an open like a Diggs from the Cowboys and he actually intercepts it. They're going to boo him like there's no tomorrow.
No doubt.
Because they're just like that. Do they really want to, put up with that? I don't believe they would.
No, and the other thing is, you saw some things out of Jalen Hurts. Like, I don't understand where these rumors came from. I would ride it out with Jalen Hurts to see what you really have there. I thought that he showed some things this past season.
Exactly. I was thinking that Jalen Hurts is still relatively inexpensive for a second-round pick. He's on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he was the worst quarterback in the playoffs. Well, this past playoffs. So, but I do see possibly Washington just because Ron Rivera is on the hot seat and he may face the chopping block in case he doesn't at least make the playoffs and win a playoff game with the team he has with all those great players on their defensive line.
Yeah, Washington makes more and more sense to me. The more I think about it, the more I consider it, the more I look at their situation. That one jumps out as a reasonable choice in trading for Jimmy Garoppolo. The top ones in my book, I still believe in Pittsburgh, but Washington has climbed to number 2 for me. And then Carolina, that one's a dark horse for me, as is Indianapolis. I think there are options out there.
I'm thinking more Indianapolis than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, wants to find the next young Ben. The big arm, rarely got hurt, made all the plays. And Jimmy, the problem with getting Jimmy is, do you really count on him not getting injured before week 3? Because that's been our experience, sadly, for 2 of his 4 years of when he was the starter. I mean, Jimmy,
I see Pittsburgh's interest as more of like hey, we want to find that next guy to replace Ben, but we need something to get us there because our fans expect consistent winning. And so my thought is that they look at Garoppolo as sort of that 3-year bridge where they're paying a lot, but in return, they're most likely a playoff team each and every year while they find that next guy. Because this year's quarterback crop doesn't seem like a sure thing. I know Mike Tomlin has been buddying up with a couple of these rookies, but none of them seem like a surefire hit.
Yeah, it's in Pittsburgh. I get what you're saying. You can't trust Mason Rudolph, and I don't know if they had a third string quarterback. Maybe it was Josh Dobbs. I don't believe in him either, outside of them being backup QBs, which pays much more than you and I for talking about it. But that's another story for another day. But to me, I think the 49ers definitely need to try and get more cap space, because did you follow what Jesse Naylor said yesterday about trying to recoup $28 million more for the cap this upcoming?
I did not. How did he say going about that? Is that restructures for existing players?
Yes, he said there was like 4 players you could probably get, if they were cooperative, up to $28 million back. Yeah. And then if you move or cut Jimmy, that's another 25. So that's 53 million more for signing free agents, because if the team wants to bring back Lakin, they're going to have to overpay him, because you have two friends in the AFC East that have plenty of cap space that are willing to throw money to protect their young quarterbacks in Miami and the Jets.
No question. Another one that I heard mentioned that makes some sense is the Bengals, right? I mean,
Bengals too, yeah.
They're viewing themselves as a Super Bowl team, as they should, and they need to protect their freaking quarterback, or that guy's going to die. Like, it's just not fair what Joe Burrow is having to overcome. So you could see that being another potential landing spot. But I agree. You could list off maybe a half a dozen potential suitors for Laken Tomlinson. I believe that you're right. If the 49ers want to retain him, probably going to have to spend $10 million or more annual average.
Because you got to remember, 2 years ago, Roger Saffold got $10 million at that time when he became a Titan. So they're going to, the NFLPA wants to see those salaries for interior linemen increase also. So I see that being a $12 to $14 million a year player. And if I'm Laken,
no doubt,
you're not a spring chicken anymore. You need to try to get that last big contract when you can.
I agree. I definitely agree. Ekim, do you have any final thoughts? I got about 4 folks waiting now, so I'm going to try to keep it to about 5 to 6 minutes per person so that those folks don't have to wait too long, but I don't want to cut you off. Anything in closing that you want to leave with?
Based on some of our those questions I've asked, passed on to you, Rob, about the perpetually injured players, I don't mind if you bring some like Raheem back on a non-guaranteed prove-it deal. Maybe that's a little bit insulting to Raheem, but he got injured on the second snap of the second carry of last season. So, if he can contribute anything, that would be great. And Jason Verrett, maybe he could do the same thing. We paid him about $5.5 million last season. If you give him a $1 million deal, non-guaranteed, come in and show what you can do and not get injured during the preseason, I don't think that's the worst investment.
No, it's really not. My question in that is whether Raheem Mostert, if his ego will allow him to take a deal like that, because my guess is he will get multiple teams offering him that 1-year deal, right? That he may not have a multi-year contract out there. That might not be an option for him coming off of the injury, but that there will be a couple of teams, Miami certainly being one of them, the Niners being another, that say, hey, we're willing to offer you this team-friendly deal if you're willing to accept it. And my question is, given his near holdout where he felt he needed to be compensated as a starting caliber running back, will he again look for that payday? And if he doesn't get it, does he save some face by going to a fresh organization so he's not eating crow with the San Francisco 49ers again?
One last point is I do see a reason to bring back Jaquiski Tart. Do I trust Tarvarius Moore or Talanoa Hufanga to be his replacement as a starting safety? I do not. To me, Hufanga said himself, I'm a special teams player, or a very good special teams player to that, or something to that effect. And
I'm totally with you on this point. I actually have a brooding subject that's building up around it where I fear the Niners are going to try and get cheap at that one position and be like, well, Tavarius Moore and Talanoa Hufanga are both coming back. They'll compete for the spot, and one of them will emerge as a starter. And I'm with you. That's a mistake.
I think if you give Jaquiski a 1-year, $3 million contract, I think that's more than fair. I think he would take that and say, hey, I'm going to see if that translates to the next payday. After.
I like that. All right, Korean 49er, love having you on. I will definitely see you next week, my man.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good afternoon. Good evening, I should say.
Yep.
All right, we are going to bring in Sean951. Looks like he is ready to roll. And then we got That Niner Guy in there. We got Celts Chronicles. We had William Bennett in there. I will try to limit folks when there's a full waiting room to that 5-minute mark, and then we can recycle. We can go back through if people have additional points as well. Bringing in Sean951 Niners. What's up, Sean? How you doing, man?
What's up, Rob? Doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. You know, spring's trying to poke through here in Portland, but like sort of half-heartedly. And so I was just out for a nice walk, clearing my head before the show, and saw all the spring flowers coming up. Maybe a little too early. There may still be a cold streak that comes along and wipes those dudes out. But hey, I'll take the sunshine when I can get it this time of year in Portland.
Yeah, no, we're a little strange here too. It was incredibly windy today, like just all like Florida type windy, just like ripping for 7 straight hours here in the Inland Empire. So that was a little bit weird because I stare out my window at my palm trees, and I know instantly when it gets windy because the windows start to give you a little noise. But
I bet. Now, was that the Santa Ana winds? When I lived down there, those always freaked me out, man. I could feel them on my skin. You got this tingle of electricity, of static electricity, because they create this weird extra ion in the air, which is a scientific fact about the Santa Ana winds. You can look it up. And it's a very disconcerting feeling for people that are sensitive to it, like myself.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is the Santa Anas. I don't know how many people or how many of the faithful are on here that live down in this area, but it starts in the Santa Anas.
Well, by judging by SoFi Stadium, a ton of the faithful live in the LA area.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There is. I wonder how many actually on here.
Right.
But no, it does. It wraps around through Chino, through the freeways, and I'm in the middle connector to the 15, which shoots to Vegas. So this whole area right here, it's just a bunch of trees and an open path for wind to just howl.
Ooh, yep. I know that area. I've driven through that spot on my way out to Vegas many a time. That's for sure. All right, let's get into the Niners. I've eaten up too much of your time just chatting. What's going on? Where are you at with the Niners? What's eating at your brain right now?
You know, really, I don't have a lot that's eating at me. I mean, I'm following a little bit of the chatter around, which really is nothing other than speculation. Obviously, you've got that new Trey video out where, you know, so what? It's in practice. He threw a ball. You know,
Sure.
That looked nice. He does that, as we know, twice a game. I mean, we've witnessed that. Obviously, all the Brady talk, the Rodgers talk, the trades, everything going on. I mean, I don't really have anything much to dive into that because nothing's really tangible. I mean,
it's all speculation at this point.
Yeah, just chatter, right? A week after the Super Bowl. You know what's funny? The Super Bowl, it reminded me of the end of the NFC Championship game, right? Aaron Donald taking down Burrow, just like he did Garoppolo, spun him around. He throws
swinging him around,
throws an incomplete pass or a pick. Yeah, same thing, right? But yeah, I'm just curious to see what happens over the next 3 weeks. I mean, really, I don't have a ton of beef to pick with anything going on right now. It's literally just information being spread and opinions. I'm just curious to see what happens first. Is it Jimmy getting traded first?
What's the first domino? I tend to think that that's got to come sooner rather than later. My speculation is that we're not going to hear anything about a surgery, right? You would think if he was getting surgery and it was going to get blasted out, that it would have made news by this point in the offseason. So my guess is that we're going to hear something about Jimmy as the first domino to fall. But then you hear some other speculation that, well, teams are going to wait and see what happens with Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, that there are bigger dominoes that need to topple. I actually think that Jimmy is the simplest of those options. And so I think one of these teams is just going to say to themselves, to hell with it. Let's get this thing done. Let's not be the last team standing when the music stops and musical chairs ends and somebody doesn't get a quarterback. Let's lock this thing down. We know we're unlikely to get one of those top options. It's looking more and more like each one of those guys is going to stay put where they are, save for Deshaun Watson, obviously. But, he comes with his own baggage in that regard.
Yeah, and he's also the worst option of all of them, too. So it's not like he's the second best or third best. I mean, at the end of the day, Watson, Wilson, A-Rod, they're obviously head and shoulders above. They're all tier one.
No doubt. The only argument you could make would be if you're building a franchise that you might want someone with a longevity, that you might take less talent for the younger age. But no doubt, if you were ranking them, I would go A-Rod, Russell Wilson, and then Deshaun Watson, no question.
Yeah. But in terms of the dominoes falling, it's tricky because since we don't know this side of it, other teams could be talking to the 49ers about how hurt is he? Does he really need surgery? Is this something where I pick him up from you for a 2 and a 4 like you want? Or if Washington's dumb enough to give us a number 11 or whatever it may be, they may be saying, well, hey, like what access do we get? Because I'm not about to pick him up and then realize in a month and a half from now, oh, man, my thumb's worse than I thought. Now I've got a surgery lingering into OTAs, et cetera, et cetera. Now they've got a quarterback who could be bummed going into week 1 with a history of missing games during the season. That could also be playing into it as well.
No doubt.
Another side of it also could be if you're the other teams and you've talked to the 49ers and they're happy with one of their offers, they're just not saying anything. Because one thing that the Lynch and Shanahan era has really shown to us and proven to us is they don't give away nothing.
Oh, I love it. I love it. No leaks unless they're intentional.
Yeah, it's like I feel like you leak, you fired. Like they must have this written on the wall inside the building. But
yeah,
because of that, they could already have something that they want or that they like. But ultimately, it doesn't benefit them to pull the trigger yet because at the end of the day, March 16th, nothing can happen anyways. And I think Rodgers is going to run it all the way to the 16th internally with Green Bay and say, look, I want this amount of time. You guys, the league year doesn't start until then. March is fine. It's not going to hinder, everything coming on the draft, et cetera. And I really think until March 16th, I don't think we're going to see any splashes. I don't think there's going to be any notable, Jimmy news or anything until it gets closer to that date.
You think it's free agency or bust, which would be actually the legal tampering window opens March 14th. So that's when all the news will start breaking about where people are going. But your prediction here and now is that we don't see any Jimmy Garoppolo news for the next month, right? From February 17th through March 14th. Is that your guess?
Well, I say real news, not
we'll hear
he's going to be in the news every day, right?
Gotcha.
I mean, every day. Because they have nothing to talk about. So you just talk about Jimmy and the Packers and Brady.
Sure.
But I would say in terms of the 49ers or like last year with Stafford, right? It was like, boom, reports. Stafford traded to Rams for Goff and blah, blah, blah. That was real. It just didn't come into effect until March. So I don't think that happens with the Niners and Garoppolo unless they get absolute, like Washington gives it number 11. But I still don't think they do it because since it's not official, if Washington gives 11, the media will trash Washington for giving 11, and they may rescind that because you can. So to me,
until the ink is dried on the paper, ain't nothing legal.
Yeah, and knowing them so far, I think they run the course all the way through, make Jimmy happy, leave him out of the news officially. He's not doing interviews. Trey may be doing interviews, but he's not doing anything. So just let that ride. I think it would be better for both as long as the Niners have what they want and no one else has any ability to give them anything better. Or go ahead and do your unofficial, and now you can go outside and say, hey guys, this is where we're rolling with. You got 2 weeks, two days.
I like that. As much as I want the news to break now so that I freaking know and can put this story to bed, I think you may be onto something there, that the Niners may try and leverage it. Coach G81 talking about the idea pretty similar. The more they wait, the higher the compensation could or will be for Jimmy Garoppolo. I like that thought. Sean, I got to get to the waiting room. You want to hang out, come back on with a few more thoughts later?
You got it, but always. You got it.
All right, we will be back with Sean. Right now, we're going to That Niner Guy. That Niner Guy coming into the stream. How you doing?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm just at work grinding a little bit. I hopped in.
The daily grind.
Just playing in Excel, my usual numbers, all that good stuff.
There you go.
I want to talk about real quick. We can talk about Jimmy, but I think you're going to hear something at the combine.
You think what about the combine? We're going to hear something? That's going to be the time?
Yeah, I think the deal's going to get done at the combine.
I like that. You know what I'm working on right now? I'm working on a freaking press pass to try and get to the combine. I mean, my fingers are crossed. Like I got the first approval, but then I have to get this second approval. We'll see. If I get the press pass, I'm flying my ass to that combine, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be loving it.
There you go, man. That'd be sick.
That would be epic for sure. That is a bucket list item. I will be at the draft in Vegas this year. No question about that. I mean, it's Vegas. It's Vegas. Come on. And I got some buddies that are going to that as well. So that's going to be a treat. But we shall see.
You got an excuse to go to Vegas. I mean, why not take advantage of it?
Right? Exactly. You get it.
Yeah, of course. I was there on the 4th this last summer, and it was fantastic.
I bet it was.
Great.
I bet it was. So what's your logic behind thinking that we're going to learn something at the combine? Just because of the fact that that's the next time where all these head honchos get together, they start having drinks, they start talking about trades, and something naturally works itself out?
Well, the other thing, too, is I think what happens is you start to hear the group talk about how all the scouts feel about all the quarterbacks, right? So that's the beginning of the Senior Bowl, right? That's kind of how it starts. All the scouts go to bars, like Jason Aponte said. They figure it out. They talk about who they like, who they don't like, and they get it's a group process in a way to see what people are thinking, right?
Right.
It's all social engineering a little bit to a degree. But at the combine, though, that's when things start to, teams are really starting to put together their boards, where they value position groups and where you value, what group is higher in the draft, what value group is high in the draft. You're going to hear a lot about edge and tackle and corner who are going to be very highly valued in the first round. There's a good chance there could be 10 edges off the board in the first round.
Wow.
Fun fact, though, they're not worth it. Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah. I've been watching a lot of tape and I've been unimpressed.
I like the sound of this. Tell me more. Because I've been viewing edge as that first spot. You've probably heard me say it on the program that I think we should use the first available draft pick, which sits right now at 61, where we launch in and grab an edge. But I mean, that puts us pretty far behind the 8 ball if 10 are selected in the first round. That leaves us pretty far behind in selecting one. Whereas Dante Fowler was just freaking released and could be that bookend that I wanted to replace D Ford, and then forget about trying to draft one if what you're saying is true. But please continue as to why you believe that they're overvalued.
They're not that good. They're not that good. It's a lot of things. One, this draft class is weak. And I think that's very true.
In its totality?
In its totality, top to bottom. It's a weaker draft class. A lot of underclassmen went out last year. So you see a lot of seniors, a lot of redshirt seniors. So you see guys with a lot of tape, and they've been picked apart for a long period of time. I watched Abdul Katie, I watched Majay Sanders, and I watched Boye Mafe, guys who I think are possibly on the board.
Yes.
And when you're spending that type of money on a pass rusher, the first thing you ask is, can he play 3 downs? And I can't say with consistency any of those 3 guys can be a 3-down guy.
Right.
Abdul Katie, probably the best of the 3, but in the run game, he is a complete liability. We could talk about it later, but the Michigan game, it was bad. It was really, really bad. The Michigan salted the game away, running the ball right at him, and it was it was tough to watch.
You could see the Niners, because Boye Mafe is one of the names that I've been looking at.
Yeah.
You could see the Niners where they're at, looking for someone that is a third down pass rush specialist, right? When you're selecting in the second round, you're fine with a project like that. But a lot of these guys are going to go in the first. And if the Niners want one of them, they may need to trade back up in order to get there. And I think you're right. At that point, unless you're getting Aldon Smith type production or even half of that, right?
Exactly.
Unless you're getting mad production from someone who's a third down specialist, that is a little bit of an overpay for somebody that's going to play, 40% of the snaps on defense?
See, that's the thing, is that the Niners have a lot of needs early. And if they're able in free agency to not keep the edge group together, like keep Jordan Willis, keep Arden Key, I'm more of the proponent of drafting a guy later who I don't think the talent gap is that big between Boye Mafe and some of the other guys you can get on date and early in the fourth round.
Yeah.
So that's where Chris Kacerif makes his money. That's where he comes in and says, hey, I got a freaky athlete, because a lot of these guys are like really fat. They're fast, but they don't play particularly fast, which I was a little thrown back on.
Yeah, that would make me skeptical as well.
And they also have one or two pass rush moves. Now that's where Chris Kacerif comes in. They kind of get that rolling, but they're not guys who you're going to say, hey, I can play you all 3 downs. Like Nick Bosa always talks about.
Right.
You have to earn the right to pass rush. And that
I would agree with
stopping the run. And
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So who would you rather target, just to keep us going? Because I got to get to that waiting room at a reasonable time. But I want to drag out of you where you think we should go. Where's the value in this draft? Just high level. Because let me tease this, is that you're doing a considerable amount of draft research, right? You and I have been connecting offline. We are talking about trying to do a show that is about draft content. So I don't want to drag too much out of you, because we may be getting into this in a longer format. But high level, what are you looking for?
Safeties and corners.
Someone else plugged that for me, and I started to consider it, and I'm on board. If you can get a playmaking safety, I'm on board, because I do think we're missing that.
There's 2 in particular that I really like, and we'll talk about. We can talk about, so we group and let's talk about that. There's 2 I really like. There's a lot of pretty good corners, so I think overall that's where you go with the first pick.
I love it.
Maybe even West, the Arizona State center. He's actually a stud. He's really undervalued.
I love bringing in someone that we could play at right guard that takes over for Mac, or takes over for Mac if Mac retires. That to me would be a freaking win.
Yeah. I think
that Niner guy, this has been a pleasure.
Buddy, it's always fun.
No, please continue. I cut you off by a closeout statement, and that was wrong of me.
It's okay. No, I was going to say he actually might be there at 61.
Ooh, I like players that are there. I don't want us to trade up. We got a lot of bodies to fill. I don't want us trading up or trading back. We got 10 picks. Let's use them this time around. Let's actually make the selection. So I like the idea of not having to give up too much to get early in the second round, or heaven forbid, we got to get into the first, because that's going to eat up a ton of our draft capital in trying to do that. I would rather be able to stay put, bring 10 quality bodies in. A playmaking safety would be a fine first pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I'm at too, and trying in free agency to be smart.
I love it. I love the contribution. That Niner guy, we will continue to chat offline. We tease that segment that'll come up in the future over the next week.
There you go, man. I like it.
All right. Have yourself a fun evening, my friend.
You too, buddy.
All right, later. All right, we are bringing in Kelt's Chronicles next. Kelt's, I am loving that backdrop that you got going on there. How you doing?
I'm doing well. What's up, Rob? I'm a big fan, man.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, so there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. It shouldn't take too long, but I had a little.
Bring it to the table, baby.
Hey, I had a little bit of a theory. I haven't put much thought into where Garoppolo could go whatsoever. I try not to guess, or kind of make things up, but there's been a lot of times in my life when stuff is coming to me. That's when I know there might be something to it. So last night, I subscribed to a Carolina Panthers YouTuber like a year ago.
Okay.
I believe it was Keep Pounding. And so I haven't even clicked on his channel in about a year. So last night, for whatever reason, I seen he was live. I clicked on it. And the first thing that popped up was A, B, C, or D, who the Panthers could get for quarterback. And the first guy was Jimmy. And I'm like, wow, but But, I wouldn't doubt it if every team that needs a quarterback, it probably got those on their multiple choice, fun things, whatever
Right.
they do.
You got to consider Jimmy Garoppolo because he's one of the premier is a loaded term, but he is one of the premier options available at free agent and quarterback. He's below the other premier options, but he is a premier option. He's the kind of guy you go with if you want to win right now.
Absolutely. So a little bit more to that. Once I seen that, it hit my head. I remember last year I was trying to figure out who the Niners were going to move up in the draft with. Like before we even moved up in the draft, I knew we were going to move up in the draft. I knew we were going to draft Trey Lance. That's how I even started my own YouTube channel was, hey, we need to go get this guy, Trey Lance. It wound up happening. Long story short, I remember there were two specific meetings with Peters with the Carolina Panthers. So my assumption was, hey, we're probably going to move up in the draft with the Panthers. Maybe those talks were about last year's draft, or maybe those talks were a whole year in advance. Hey, next year we're going to be shipping Garoppolo. What's up? Hey, is this something you guys, it might sound crazy, might sound far-fetched. There might be no weight to it whatsoever, but just the way it all spoke to me last night, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to make a guess, I'm going to just based off of that, I think he might be going to the Panthers. We'll see.
Yeah.
I
was saying a minute ago, they are now a dark horse candidate for me, right? I'm hesitant to put them at the forefront, but Matt Rule is certainly going to be feeling some pressure this year. The Darnold trade most definitely didn't work out, but what it illustrated was they're willing to take some big cuts at the plate, right? They're willing to swing and see if they can't hit one out of the park. And again, if you miss out on that elite level of quarterback that may or may not be available in this one, Jimmy Garoppolo is right beneath that, right? Jimmy is that next option available. I'm not counting him out. I wouldn't go so far as to speculate that after they had traded for Darnold last year that they were already like, hey, this isn't going to work out, so we'll plan for next year. I doubt that was the case, but I still think that you're right in naming this team as a potential one of the favorites to land Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, just kind of, because I thought for sure something was happening once Peters went and had a second interview. I was like, I don't think I think that's an interview about more than just, what's up with the job. So right. It just randomly spoke to me last night. I was like, hey, man, I might, I was going to save it, maybe put it on my own show. But, I seen you had a call in. I've been, wanting to chop it up with you. I appreciate you to the fullest. I just love what you do on your show. I feel like you're one of the more positive dudes and just what you bring to the table, man. I like it. So, and another thing, the video with Trey Lance, one person could say, hey, there's nothing to it. That's practice.
Right.
But when I watched it, I seen something a little different. I seen some lateral movement, footwork with the flick of a wrist. I mean, to me, I kind of seen like, man, regardless of where it is, how it is, that looked like something I've never seen before. I was like, this looks like a faster, stronger Mahomes type, throw right here. One could say it means nothing. Let me see it in the game. Right. I think we're going to see some explosiveness out of Trey Lance. I cannot wait, man. I've been waiting for something like this for a couple of decades. Like I think we all kind of have. Out of the quarterback position. And one more thing that I wanted to say, I've been waiting to say this. I wrote it down a couple times, but deleted it on your thing. I heard someone say something along the lines that you have a voice out of the heavens. And and since I've heard that, all I could think about is Morgan Freeman. And so just in my Adam Sandler type of mind, sometimes that I love to be over dramatic in a funny, positive way. And if anything, Lord forbid, ever happened to Morgan Freeman, we have Rob Schuh and we are in good hands. And, I just wanted to let you know that, my man, you got it.
Dude, I appreciate that. I really do. I was just saying before the show that, I mean, it may sound like I'm just saying thank you, but I'm not. This is a very honest communication, you to me right now, that these things mean something to me. Like when people reach out and they say kind things, I'm a big believer in the simple fact that kindness is magic, and it's something we all have access to and we rarely take advantage of as a society, even less so on these virtual platforms where we tend to be the worst versions of ourselves for some convoluted reason, right? And what I know to be a fact is we have a chance to positively impact other people. We have a chance to lift someone up instead of tearing them down. And I just want to say thank you, because when people share those types of things with me, even if it's something like that where I have a hard time accepting it as a compliment, it still lifts me up. It still raises my spirits. And you guys only get a chance to see me while I'm on here. And the reality is that, I'm a human being just like everybody else. I got my ups, I got my downs. There's no doubt about it. I go through some things in life, as everybody does. And to have my fellow human beings lift me up, compliment me, it means something, a great deal. So I just want to say thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Man. It's almost hard to say exactly what I want to say because I don't want to take up too much time, but I am right there with you. I do a YouTube channel, and one of the things that I say, to hype fans up is faithful, rise up, ye. But like, I truly mean more than just football to rise up. And I truly believe that you could speak life or death with our tongues. And
yes,
it's a couple of words in my life that I've heard of encouragement that have went a long way. And there's a few words of doubt that can also go a long way. So I'm right there with you, my man. There's a lot of positive stuff I talk about the 49ers on my show, but I mean it in several different ways. So I appreciate that to the fullest, man. I don't know a lot about salary caps and certain things about the Niners, but I do truly try to bring my heart, man. That's one thing that I truly try to deliver to my show. So, man, I'm right there with you, man. I appreciate it. I'm super thankful that you were able to just be appreciative and receive it, that same way, because it does matter. It does.
It does, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I got to come over and check out the channel. Is it as listed there, Celts Chronicles? Is that the name of the YouTube channel?
Celts Chronicles, my man.
You're welcome. Be over there checking it out.
Hey, you're welcome anytime on my show. And one day I hope to do something with you, my man.
Let's do that. Let's do that sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Let's do it. All right, my man. You stay blessed. Yee.
Hey, you too. Have a good night, man.
All right, peace.
Peace. All right, William Bennett, I'm bringing you in. I can see the headset. I know we're going to get this audio thing worked out. Let me hit these super chats real quick, and then I'm bringing William Bennett on. Chris Royal came in, one of our sneakerheads here on the channel. Chris has been on this call-in show before. We got to get Chris back in here. Assuming we get a second for Jimmy G, what do you think the possibility we package a couple twos and a third to move up into the first? If so, who would you take? So this goes back to what I was saying a moment ago. I wouldn't. I think the Niners need to fill bodies. They have what amounts to approximately 22 bodies that they have to bring onto the team. And that's through a combination of ways in which they go about it, which will be bringing back their own free agents, which I think is the absolute priority. I love the sound of what it sounds like Jesse Naylor went into around the salary cap flexibility, that the Niners can free up some stuff by committing to a few players longer term. And so if they do that, they could bring back the majority of their players. That to me should be the focus, but you're still going to have a bunch of bodies that you need to bring onto the 53-man roster. So I would rather that the Niners stay put, because to your point, in order to get back up into the first, you have to give up some pretty considerable assets to get there. I agree in principle that it would take 2 2s and a 3 to move back up, depending on where that other 2 is that we get for Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't have a target in the first round that I think is really worth that. I don't have a target in the first round where I say to myself, man, if only we could get that 5th-year option on that player, that would be a home run. Admittedly, I've yet to get my deep dive into the draft going just yet. So maybe there will be a candidate that jumps out to me. Right now, I'm focused on position groups, and I had been set on edge rusher. To me, that was the priority. But with Dante Fowler's release, honestly, I would solve that problem right there. Read Jordan Elliott's article on Niners Nation. Phenomenal case for why the 49ers should bring in Dante Fowler. And then that frees it up to maybe go after a playmaking safety, maybe go after interior offensive line. So there's a lot of options out there for sure, Chris. Eduardo comes in to say odds of teams getting in a bidding war for Jimmy. I think it's reasonable that you could have a bit of a bidding war for Jimmy. I don't anticipate 3 teams, but there could be 2 teams left standing. I mean, let's consider the fact that it seems more and more likely, as crazy as it sounds, that that Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay. The man he's a manila folder at this point, man. He just keeps waffling on it. Like, I thought he wanted out of that freaking place, and now it seems like he's going to be back. Russell Wilson, I won't believe him out of a Seahawks uniform until he's actually gone. If neither of those guys move, you still have 6 very quarterback-needy teams. There could be a bidding war. I think there's a chance. All right, we got to the Super Chats. We are bringing William Bennett on the channel. Crossing the fingers for the audio. William, cheers, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm good. You hearing the echo?
It sounds good to me. Let me ask the folks in the chat. Do you hear any sort of an echo? I don't know how we could. You got a headset on. There's no external audio going on. To me, it sounds crisp, but I'll wait until I get something in the comments confirming sound is good. But please continue, William. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm a 49ers fan.
Amen to that, William. Amen to that. That's ain't nothing finer than a 49er.
Hey, I'm telling you, that gold rush is real.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We've got confirmation that sound is good. We have figured out the damn solution, William, and we don't got to mute shit anymore. We're good.
I think I found out what it was. I checked my settings, and it was turning that my headset was defaulting to the default and not actually to the headset. So I just changed it over to the headset, and it seems to be, working out now. So
well done. Nicely done, William.
I'm going to speak on the same thing I spoke on Grant and Eric Crocker show.
Okay.
Partially was about Jimmy, that I believe where I had, if you can remember, I told you that I felt there were 3 places Jimmy would land. Okay. One was Denver, one was Carolina, and one was Washington.
Do you have a ranking? Like, is that in order? Do you think that it's most likely Denver and then Carolina, then Washington, or is that sort of a random listing of the order?
That was my ranking.
Got it.
But since now with the possibility of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson added to the fray, and I do believe for both of them, if they're going to leave their prospective teams, it's got to be this year. Okay. I can't see Aaron Rodgers playing there another year and then after that saying, oh, now I want to leave. His capital will go way down because he's just getting he's agent, and
for sure.
It's just
that
what
would
it
only
is.
Be that his contract would actually expire. I think he has 1 year left on the deal.
Yeah.
And so if he makes it through this season with Green Bay, he'll be an actual free agent. But I agree. It's looking more and more like he stays.
Right. And Aaron, and for Russell Wilson, if he's leaving Seattle, now's the time. I don't think that he can survive at the level he is right now in Seattle and then leave there next year expecting the same capital. Seattle would lose a lot of capital keeping him one more year. Yeah, they're not going to get all those firsts and everything they would get by doing it this year. But I will say, back on the Jimmy thing, I think, because I live here in Washington, so
Washington D.C. or Washington State?
Washington D.C.
Nice.
The capital of the world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And a lot of Commander fans are really hyping up this Jimmy train,
and they're on board.
You got to understand, Washington, just like Dallas in this division over on the East, have not had many winning seasons. It's been a very long time. And Jimmy, you can say what you want to say about Jimmy, but Jimmy is a winner. He does somehow changes teams. He
Yes, he
does
does.
lead men. And honestly, the Commanders right now looking like they need a leader.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Jimmy may not win them Super Bowls, but I definitely see Jimmy winning that division multiple years.
I think you may be onto something there because before last season, people were picking Washington as a sleeper type of team that was going to make a resurgence with that defense. But they came out flat. Let's be real honest about that they didn't perform to what their talent level says they have on that team. And I do think that's a reflection of a lack of leadership. And I do believe that Jimmy Garoppolo, for all of his faults as a quarterback, the one thing I don't know that you can question about him is his leadership ability. It could be a good fit.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that is if you look at Washington's history, they haven't had a decent quarterback, bar Alex Smith, since who? Since it's been a very long minute.
Yeah.
They've been crying for a winning season, not a Super Bowl, but just a winning season.
Right.
They even went to the crypt and dug up Joe Gibbs.
Oh,
Yeah, I had to go there.
yeah, you did.
But
yeah, you did.
But I'm just saying, I think he could come there, and you gotta understand, in our division, which is the toughest division, Jimmy is a winner. He may not be a champion, but he's a winner. Imagine Jimmy, who are able to win games in this division in the West, going to a division like the East, where the competition is way less.
Right.
My other point would be Trey Lance.
Okay.
It's funny how after Joe Montana, I really didn't take that whole Joe Montana critique really to heart. It's a and forgive me, Joe Montana, you know I got your jersey, but I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah, don't disparage the man too much. I mean, you know me.
I mean,
but I'll accept some because I did just badmouth Trey. So it's okay.
I mean, Joe isn't in the media. He's not keeping up with the team as we may think. He's a older gentleman who, yes, is a legend, but he's not watching a lot of games or anything.
And half his heart is he's not watching film, that's for sure.
And half his heart is over in Kansas City. I'm gonna tell you.
Unfortunately, that is true.
Joe Montana reminds me of Tom Brady. I said it on your show, if you even remember. I told people were saying, "Oh, it was either your show or Grant's show." You know, I'm getting older, but I told people about the Tom Brady coming to San Fran. I said he'll never come to San Fran. Yeah. And the reason I say it is because Tom Brady looks like the type of person that holds a grudge. When he told LeBron and said they chose that MFer over me, we all know who he was talking about. We all knew who he was talking. He was talking about Jimmy.
I disagree, but I know most people believe that.
I think he still was salty over Belichick looking at Jimmy as his replacement. Yeah, I think he's still salty over hearing Jimmy tell the media that he was better than Tom Brady, if y'all remember that. And then to come to Washington and say, hey, I want to finish my career here. I mean, to the Niners and say, I want to finish my career here. And them say, no, we're going to go with Jimmy, was a slap in the face to him. And now you're hearing all this news about his family saying Brady will never come there again. He will never give an offer to come there again. And I can see that. Joe Montana is still salty. He seems like he holds a grudge. He's still salty about being traded to Kansas City and not ending his career in San Fran. He's salty about that. I
totally believe that because it comes through in some of the things that he says. I mean, just in that half and half jersey that he put out, just in the simple fact that he's not willing to commit to the 49ers, where his legend absolutely lives. Like Joe knows damn well that his legend isn't being a Chief, right? Like
exactly.
Not even Chiefs fans are saying that Joe's legend lives in being a Chief, right? His legend is as the four-time Super Bowl winning 49er quarterback.
But how many times have Joe Montana went to the locker room of the 49ers? How many times do you see him at the games or them showing like, those camera zooms? Oh, Joe Montana's here.
Unless
you don't
it was
see
for
that.
Dwight Clark, it was next to nothing.
You don't see that.
Yep.
But he's constantly over in Kansas City. They have footage of him at their games. I think he watches more Kansas City games than he watches San Francisco games. I think he plays along with the media hype because, like we said, that's where his legacy is here. So, of course, you're not going to say, well, I don't want nothing to do with the team, but I think he's a little salty, and I think people are right. He does look at Trey Lance like a Steve Young and not so much Jimmy, but any non-mobile quarterback as himself. And I think it's just funny that after those comments, all of a sudden now we got this mysterious leak of Trey Lance in practice throwing balls that makes him look like, if you didn't know that was the 49ers, he looked almost like Mahomes.
Yeah. And interviews from Matt Mayoko, who is attached to the organization, of both Jay Glazer and Peter King, both openly supporting how special Trey Lance is. Like, yes, there was a calculated release of propaganda by the San Francisco 49ers to combat what Joe Montana said, no doubt.
Because no one wanted to speak against Joe, so they said, look, we'll just let the film do the talking.
Yeah.
A picture is 1,000 words. A picture is 1,000 words. Yeah. But one more thing. Like I said, I do believe Jimmy will end up as a Commander. Also, I coach youth football here in Virginia. And the one thing, and I've watched and seen how some kids are talented and some kids just have a work ethic that you be like, yeah, he's talented, but he just don't put in the work.
Right.
And talent can only get you so far. Right. And then I have some kids who seem like they are just not football players at all when you first get them, but by mid-season turns into these real elite players.
Yes.
And looking at Trey Lance, to me, he's a student of the game.
Yeah. I think
he watches.
I think he is those two in one.
Yeah, he's a student of the game and has the ability to achieve.
Yes.
I think this season we're in good hands. We're going to have some really great games. I think I don't know if we're going to go to a Super Bowl or a championship, but I do think we will make a playoff. Whether it's the wild card or first round, I'm not sure. But I do see us there with him.
And to add to what you just said there, with a different analogy, I have worked in sales organizations before, some big companies, and coached sales directors, sales managers. And you always want to preach to them that when they're looking to onboard somebody, when they're looking to hire sales talent, you would much rather have the grinder, the person who is willing to put in the hours needed to develop leads, to go find new customers, to speak with existing customers, as opposed to the wildly talented guy who just doesn't really want to put in that level of effort. You want the grinder, and I think the same is true in football. To me, what I was alluding to earlier is I think the Niners have both in Trey Lance. I think you have both the physically gifted, amazing athlete, and more importantly, the guy who's going to grind and put in the work needed.
I'll leave it with this. And this is going to be more so about the draft.
Yeah.
I think that we're not going to get an 11th. We're not going to get that 11th overall from
Fingers
Washington.
Crossed, but I agree. It's unlikely.
I will, I'm an optimist realist. I hope, but I got to live in the real.
Yeah.
We're not going to get, I just don't believe we're going to get that. But I do believe that we can get a second and maybe a third for Jimmy. Now, that's all we need. Yeah. Second of all, we don't need a first. We don't need to go after some big star. We need bodies.
Yeah.
We need bodies. And like I said, it's those later rounds where we seem to flourish. And I like to see us get some corner, maybe another corner. But I think, and you can quote me on this, I think the person that may show out this year, because he had sparks of of doing that this year, but he kind of fell off. But I think he finds his way this year is Diamond Lenore.
Okay. I saw
think he
flashes when he was
stepped up.
first out there.
I think he had flashes, but sometimes everybody just don't get it that first year.
No.
You know what I'm saying? But I think he becomes another I think he becomes another Avery Thomas, somebody who steps up to the bat.
The Niners could use that because they've got, multiple holes at cornerback that they got to address with players out the door, and they're not going to be able to bring back all the veterans. And K'Wan Williams looked like he was losing a step toward the end with some of those coverages.
Yeah, man. Yeah. K1. It's just like when you be like, oh, K1. And then you be like, K1. Like, come on, my man. You know what I'm saying?
I love those two different inflections. They communicate wildly different impressions of the man.
Hey, but like I said, hey, I appreciate you giving me time on the show. And I'm glad we figured out how to get the mic and everything working. Because it was really haunting me. I'm like, what is it?
What the hell's wrong with these AirPods? Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you coming on, William. I always enjoy our conversations, man.
I think the one thing that got me was I really regret missing the round table that you had last week.
We're going to keep doing that. I didn't work it in this time around, but I mean, we certainly could. You want to give a round table a shot right now?
Sure.
Let's do it. Sean, we're bringing you in. I see you in the waiting room. We got a round table. We got a round table. Look, wait, let's see. I can make myself. Oh, no, I don't want to be that big. That's too much. I like that better. That's better. All right, hold on one second. We're going to get to some thoughts, but we got a super chat. So we're bringing in Joe Stull here. Joe Stull is speaking my kind of language here. He says, I don't care if Trey wins the Super Bowl this year as long as he beats the Seahawks. Now, I think there's a little bit of hyperbole to that. I think Joe probably does care what the Niners do in totality on the season. But I have to agree with the sentiment that beating the Seahawks feels really good. And in this season, it took away from what we were able to do. Literally, the fact that we were unable to beat the Seahawks this past season ate at me a little bit. In particular, the game in Seattle that I was at, that was painful. But, just how emotionally important is it to you, Sean, to beat the Seahawks in any given season? Do you care, or are you just all about record making the playoffs?
I care for that 7 days. I care watching 3.5 hours, and I care about talking to you on Thursday, having to go over the game.
Yes, that is very true. That is very true.
But here's what's funny, though. I mean, it's real simple. I mean, have we talked about Seattle in the last 2 months? No.
Other than speculation on whether they're losing their head coach and their quarterback, no.
But, I mean, do you see what I'm saying? So, do I care about losing to them? I don't care about losing to anybody. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you make an NFC championship and I lose to the Seahawks twice, hey, I'll take pie for 14 days out of the season. But I would say this, though. Seattle's not becoming a better football team. And I don't want to – for sure, I don't want to talk about Seattle much on the show right now. But they're not going to be a better team. They're not going to be a better team next year. No. They're either the same or they're getting worse. They're not going to be a better team. So in doing that, if Jimmy's not our quarterback, now it's a whole new experience. With the last 4 years, we've dealt with the same guy walking into that building. So let's see what Trey or whoever is our quarterback can do to handle that environment.
Changes the momentum. I agreed. I was glad they didn't put Trey in that game so that he doesn't have the stain of losing to Seattle in Seattle on him from that loss. William, What are your thoughts? Just how much do you value beating the Seahawks, or are you much like Sean, where you're like, hey, man, I don't care. We got to the championship.
I'm kind of like Sean. It's the end point for me. I really didn't care much about losing them as long as we got to the playoffs. Beating them is just something that was ingrained because, for so long, they've been a little rival of ours. But now, to be honest, losing to them is almost kind of like a disrespect because we know who they are and we let them off the hook.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That
Here's
was the
what's funny,
painful
though.
part.
Hey, Rob, check this out, William. Here's what's funny. Would you rather lose to the Seahawks twice in the same season or beat the Rams twice in the same season, but yet you lose to the Rams the third time you play them? To me, I'd rather go 1-1 and then beat them the third time I play.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like I said, I'm with Sean on that. It's about the end point with me. Most people ask me what is a successful season. I say the reason why us as faithful and we hold everything so high is because to us, a winning season is winning the Super Bowl. That's what you play for.
Yeah.
If you're not playing to win the championship, I don't know what you're doing it for. I don't care about, we won so many games during the regular season, but we didn't make the playoffs. That's a losing season to me. Going to the playoffs and so a lot of people may not agree with me on this.
Sure.
But
I personally am in that camp. It's probably because I'm a Trailblazer fan, and so I have to hang my hat on seasons where you just make the playoffs, right? And
yeah, I mean, some people are happy for that. Washington will be happy for that. You can understand as 49er fans, the things that we really are disgruntled about, some fan base would love to be in these situations.
Yeah, that's so
they
true.
have not won in a very long time.
That is very true.
And we have the privilege of having going to playoffs. Because honestly, what would this season have been like? What would the playoffs have been like without the 49ers? Honestly, it would have been boring.
Yeah, I
boring
agree.
to me. All they talked about was the 49ers.
If there was no 49ers, the Rams wouldn't be the Super Bowl champions.
No, they would not.
Correct. If the Niners had not knocked off the Packers would have beaten the Rams. I agree.
Because we would not have been in that game against the Packers. Go ahead.
Right. One thought. I'm bringing it. We got that Niner guy is coming back in. So we're going 4-man roundtable right now. We good? We good with 4-man? Let's do a 4-man. Because that's how we do it on here. Now we got the quadrants going on. All right, we got more super chats that we got to get to. Elvis has come in. Joe came back. But quick thoughts on the current Seahawks topic. Do you care enough about the Seahawks to risk everything else in the season, or would you rather have playoffs?
Playoffs.
Yeah. I think that's true. I agree with it in the sentiment that, I love beating the Seahawks, but I'm taking a playoff victory or a playoff appearance.
Here's what I will say, though.
Please do.
If Russell Wilson didn't get hurt, 4 teams in the NFC West would have been the playoffs.
That's what I predicted at the beginning of the freaking season. You can go back and watch. I came pretty close in a lot of predictions that looked bleak when we were 3-5. But when you bore it out over the season, Jimmy played 15 games. I predicted that he'd play 16. I think I predicted 12 wins. We came damn close in a couple of games to getting there, right? A few points here or there would have gotten us to 12 wins. There are certainly 2 games we should have won, Seattle being one, Green Bay being another. You could add Tennessee to that list. So anyways, I feel pretty vindicated in how the season played out. And I predicted Arizona was a freaking fake team, and then it looked bad for a while. It looked bad for a while. People were like, Arizona's the real deal.
It's every year. It's every year. Arizona starts off hot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
The quarterback scrubbed his account.
Hey, look. It's every year with Arizona. They start off hot, and everybody gives them all these kudos. But when I seen Trey Lance go against them healthy, and he nearly beat them, I said, "Oh yeah, by the mid-season, they're gonna fall off."
Yeah,
because people are gonna start catching up to Tyler. You can only just run the ball so many times.
I agree. I agree. All right, we're getting into the next super chat here. Hold up. We got a new topic, and then we'll go round the round table yet again. We'll start with that Niner guy. Good day, Mr. Schuh. Always love your show and input, and I can't wait for Trey era. Hope we draft an elite edge rusher, and if not, always free agency. So that brings us back to the point of the edge rusher. Now, you already talked about the idea that you're not sold on this edge rush class. Do you believe, like me, that Dante Fowler could be a quick fix for the 49ers to add some depth to that spot? And if not, how would you address it? Or would you just go with the players that we have in rotation?
Well, that's a good. See, I want to give Charlie Onway a chance.
Okay,
I think
Charles Omenihu.
Omenihu, yeah.
I may be mispronouncing that. It could be Omenahu. I say it differently depending on what day of the week it is. I'm sorry, Charles.
I definitely mispronounced it, so there you go. I want to give him a shot, but I think the way you do it is you address your free agents first. That's key.
Yep.
That's DJ Jones. Figure out what the plan is there. Go to free agency. It's an okay group, D-line, D-tackle. It's not great. But Dante Fowler, I think, is definitely a name. You can get him on a 1-year prove-it deal, and he can go prove it. He's shown he can be production. He has production. The one thing about him is that when you have other elite guys around him, he has great seasons.
That's just it. He rises up when he's got an elite defense around him, and the Niners have that.
Yeah, and from my other point from the draft is because the Niners have so many other positions where guys are getting older.
Yeah.
You have to address those positions first. D-line is still particularly younger group for the 49ers. So in your earlier picks in the draft, like when you're thinking roster construction, you want to attack groups where you're getting older, safety and corner. And there's good guys who can be had in the second round. I just don't feel that the D linemen who are there, I would take them early with my first pick because I just don't think the return's going to be this season. And the reason for that is this season, they got a shot. They got a shot for the Super Bowl. Yeah. The window's open. Take the shot.
You want immediate contributors on this team, which is why I don't want them trading back to get draft picks next year. I want them using them this year. All right. I like that. You got one more thought on that one?
Well, yeah, the hypothetical being like if our first pick 61.
Yeah.
And if we get at the 40, let's just say for argument's sake, we get Washington's second. So 43. We use that pick to take Jalen Petrie or, someone of that caliber. Then at 61, if like Boye Mafe is there, I'm good with that.
I like that.
Or going center, or going Devontae West, or going even Dylan Parham, because you address a need, you address a guy who could possibly start week 1 for you, and then start building up the depth of the roster.
I like it. Sean, what's your feelings on drafting an elite edge rusher or going through the free agent route?
Well, that Niner guy, your depth of the draft process so far, kudos to you. I work too much. I don't have time to go through it at this point. So good for you on that one. I like good listening to you. But I would say scrap the edge rusher in the draft, period. I'm assuming you're accurate on everything you said. And even if you're not, I still wouldn't do it. I would go to Fowler and his crew right now, and I would say, look, even if I drafted someone in the second round, I'm still going to have to give him $5 or $6 million. So go to Fowler and say, hey, what is it going to take to get you the 49ers? You have the best D-line coach that can turn you into the best version of you. Opposite of you, you have the best edge rusher in the game, or top 3, depending on who you're talking to. You will have a successful season if you stay healthy. What do you want to come over the 49ers for? I'll give you $8, $9, $10 million right now. Prove it season. You can go wherever the hell you want to after this year. Your choice. But we need you for this year. You need us for this year. Let's make this happen now. Be done with it so we can go on to other needs and draft outside edge rush.
And the beauty is I think he would come a lot cheaper than that on a 1-year deal. Okay. I think that the 2 years in Atlanta will raise some question marks for some folks that look at him as a premier pass rusher. And so I think the Niners could have him for a steal. Not quite as big of a steal as they got Arden Key for. I mean, that was unheard of. But Arden Key looked like a flop at that point in his career. Dante Fowler at least has a track record of success with quality defenses. All right, William, what are you thinking on this one? You got an opinion to weigh in?
Yeah, I'm in consensus. I agree. I think like that Niner guy said, you want to go through your free agency, see what you can get, because of our cap, try to see what you can get at the cheapest price you can get it. I'm not sure if I'm ready to spend a lot knowing that we got to pay Bosa, and honestly, I'm just really concerned about Kinlaw and his knee.
Yeah.
Holding up. Really, if it was up to me, and I know a lot of people would I just look at Kinlaw as a wash and try to trade him out. But just get over it and get away from these injuries.
I feel like you're speaking for a whole group of Niner fans that have this PTSD around injuries, and I don't blame them, because the Niners prior to this year had some horrible runs with injury, right? I mean, it was something that we had to talk about every freaking offseason, and we're still talking about it, even though we had a pretty clean year as far as injuries, minus Verrett and Mostert going out week freaking 1. But other than that, a pretty good season from that regard. So it is interesting that, we still hold on to that, because it's sort of an emotional thing that, like, it feels like the Niners are injury prone. And so I get that. I get people wanting to move on from Kinlaw. I would say, in my opinion, you just can't get value back for him because he hasn't shown anything so far.
Right.
And so I'd hold it out while he's on his rookie deal, but I would get not re-signing him. That's for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, we got to get DJ Jones back. He's hell in that middle. And we just do, if we can get, and they ain't got to be a D Ford. They don't have to be a D Ford, but somebody that can just apply some pressure over on the edge, because the league is going to mobile quarterbacks, and we need to force them inside. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we could just
Contain
get
them on the
somebody
edges.
that's complementary over there, that's durable, I think we'll be great. But I definitely agree with the fellas.
But
Nice.
Rob, if you can make the trade that we talked about last week, the one trade that I would like to see happen, if you can get somebody who's hungry for a pass rusher, peace out, Armstead. I'll take your $20 million, and then you can move DJ Jones. See how Kinlaw does in the offseason. I don't care. Put him through OTAs and push him to the brink. If he breaks, he breaks. Move on from him. Go on to the next guy. But that gives you the automatic
that's
money.
some cold-hearted shit right there. Push his ass. If he breaks, he breaks. I don't care.
But my point in that
I
is,
cannot get on board with that, but please continue.
no, my point in that is he's so young, right?
Yeah.
He's had injuries so young. We haven't even really been able to see what the guy's potential can be. So if he can heal from this injury, I would rather see Armstead gone. Give me the $20 million. I can guaranteed re-sign Jones. Screw it. Put the whole $20 million into the D-line. Keep the money there, but get Armstead out of there so you can let those other 3 guys that subbed in and out in the middle, give them their shot to be full-blown key contributors. Give them a few more bucks. Then, with Fowler on the edge, as long as we can stay semi-healthy like we did, then we should have a damn good shot to stay in that top 3 run defense.
Okay, I like it. All right, I'm coming over to that Niner guy, and then we're going to the next topic. That Niner guy.
Real quick, the one thing about DJ Jones is we all like him. I don't think anyone doesn't want him back. Problem with DJ, he plays 51% of the snaps.
Yep.
That is just the reality. And you're going to pay a guy $9 million to play half your snaps. And he does have a bit of an injury history. So that's the one caveat to the DJ Jones argument that
It is. My hope is that you can get
is.
him on board for $6 or $7 million. If it gets up to that price tag, I think you're right. I think the Niners have to let him go. And I have a follow-up question that's going to tie into that'll let us come back to this topic. But I'm going to bring in Joe Stoll's super chat right now. Losing to an awful Seahawks team this year just hurts so much more for some reason. Cheers, guys. I just want to bring that on, Joe. Cheers to you as well. Yes, William. Everybody, look at that. We got cheersing going on. Got to take that drink. I have to drink the water afterwards because that's a ritual of the cheers. It only has its magic when you take the drink afterward. All right, so my follow-up question to the D-line topic that we were just on was around, so the Niners will, it's a guarantee, will draft a D lineman, right? I mean, it's just a matter of when, because they continue to invest in that particular position group, and for good reason. They're building through the line. They are a rush first, cover second team. That is philosophy from Shanahan, Lynch in building out defenses, and it's a proven track record of success as well. So my question is not if, but when do the Niners draft an interior lineman? Because I think it is fair to wonder if you will have the return of that man right there, DJ Jones, and his fantastic barbecue sauce made by Big Dave, his dad. And it is fair to wonder if Arden Key is coming back. I do think he ends up in that $8 million range, give or take, that you mentioned earlier, that Niner guy. But how early do the Niners draft a big man in this one? William, I'll start with you. What's your gut say about how early they frustrate 49ers fans by drafting a team's strength in the draft?
I think it'll be fairly early. Fairly early. The only person that scares me about, I know we talk about all this drafting and bringing people back and stuff, but it's one person, because we're all talking common sense, but it's one person that just scares me with how he operates. And you know who that is? That's Parrot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, who wouldn't deny that we probably would be Super Bowl champions if we had DeForest Buckner? Honestly, if you would have, nobody expected us to let go DeForest Buckner and sign Armstead. When that came across Instagram, I almost lost my. But I was like, that was totally shocking. I'm just trying to figure out who's gonna be the next DeForest Buckner on this team this year.
Oh,
because it seems like Parrot does it every year.
I hope nobody, but I do see him applying this type of a money ball approach to the 49ers at times. And I agree with it in most instances. I would defend Parag. I would say I enjoy him as an executive because, you know, what are you really looking to an executive for but to get creative with some of the contracts? But I do think he gets too cute. And I think you're referencing the frickin' poster child for when he got too cute in trading away Buckner. I hope that doesn't happen. Sean, take it in whichever direction you want to go, whether it's with Parag or back to the initial question around investing in D-line. But how do you see the Niners playing with that position group of strength?
I want to go back to kind of where we were talking with William. I like Parag a lot because I guarantee you if you were to ask the other 30 teams around the league, how do you like that position in your organization? They're probably going to bark and moan. We're in a very fortunate position to have someone as creative as them. Look what they did last year. They were able to bring our whole team back. We made the NFC Championship. I mean, none of us thought that. This time last year, we were like, oh, man, how are they going to bring back this guy? This guy. We brought him back every one of them. But to go on the D-line side, the only reason the 49ers, they're not going to tell us this because it doesn't make the fans happy, but there's a main reason that nobody talks about why Armstead was brought back instead of Buckner. It is not talent. We all know it's not talent. There's one main reason. The 49ers have had a terrible image in their organization for 10 or 12 years, going back to Reuben Foster, Aldon Smith. Then you have Dana Stubblefield popping up and going to prison. You've got all this negativity around the organization, right? What is the one thing he qualifies for every single year for the 49ers?
Walter Payton Man of the Year Award.
Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. He's in the communities doing all these things with kids.
There's no doubt, and he deserves praise for it, no doubt.
That's a big thing to York and the way that the perception of the 49ers is seen. He's on every one of the commercials when it comes to anything outside of football, right?
Yep.
So that's the main reason why I think they went that route, because that was the tipping point of that's why I go that route. But if you think about it, if we kept Buckner, that means see you later, Armstead, right? Because we wouldn't have that first round pick that turned into Kinlaw, which so far has not netted us anything.
Right.
I do agree we'd be a better defensive line, but ultimately I don't know if we would be in a different position as a team in terms of our success, because we have top 3 D-line in 19 with Buckner. Last year we're hurt, right? I mean, the whole team was hurt. It's hard.
2020 is sort of an anomaly in that regard.
And then this year we're basically top run D, and we're all over the place with guys that Kasurk have turned into maniacs. So to me, Parag and them, I could say, I lean Buckner because I would. But that's the business side that the faithful, unfortunately, are not going to be able to talk about. But that's truth. They look at a lot of that inner detail. So I just wanted to throw that in there since we were talking about it.
I like that, Sean. That Niner guy, how do you want to chime in on this D-line conversation?
The Niners just don't value D tackles. They don't. So, Sean, you're right for a lot of the points you made. Like, Buck Armstead's a really vocal person in the community. And again, Walter Payton Man of the Year every year. There hasn't even been like other votes going to other players. It's literally just been his domain until he finally hopefully wins it. It could be awesome for him. But the other factor is Armstead, the year they went to Super Bowl 2019, he was a edge defender in the base and then moved inside. The Niners value D-line versatility.
Versatility.
Yeah, and Buckner, he's just not an edge guy. Like we saw it, like they tried doing it in this first couple of years in the league, and that's just not his skill set. He's too long. He's not quite fast enough off the ball. But when you put him on guards and centers, he physically just dominates them. And the difference between Armstead and Buckner is really good every play. Armstead has those like flashes of like, what the hell is that? You know, he has that little bit more of a push. Buckner's just really good every single play. I value that more, and he doesn't get hurt. You know, that's something that I value more.
Consistent and an Iron Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Dependable and consistent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing, too, is like I think the 49ers learned their lesson on Buckner because the one thing that I think successful franchises don't do is you don't trade captains. You don't do it.
Right.
That's the one thing about that trade I think that really hurt people. Like Joe Staley talked about it. Like he said, you know, I went to Buckner after the Super Bowl and like said, hey, man, this is your team. And then like 3 days later, traded. So it's just like
brutal.
Oh,
It's like literally telling someone, hey, like this is exactly who we want you to be on the job. We want you to be this guy. And then, oh, by the way, we fired that guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, what do you mean you fired that guy? You just told me that's what you want me to be. You want me to be like that guy, that he's the heart of the team, that he's a good dude. And I agree with someone in the comments talking about in comparison to Buckner, in comparing Buckner to Armstead, that Armstead is much more vocal with what he does in the community. But it's not as if Buckner was a troublemaker or in any way a bad dude. He was just a little quieter in that regard.
He was the captain of the team. Like he was the team's main captain when, you know, through the Chip Kelly nonsense and into Shanahan. Like he was the vocal leader at a very young age for the defense. And the defense wasn't particularly good in finding their sea legs. No one's saying Buckner's not a good dude. I know people who went to Oregon with him and they talk about how like he's like this gentle giant in class. Like he was like the nicest kid in the world. And then on Saturdays, he just wrecked people, you know?
Look what he's done for Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But
continues to rack up stats.
Yeah. But going back to that day and that time, I mean, you remember what Lynch and them came out and said. They said, we valued both players, at their opinion, 100% equal. The only reason, this is their mouth, this is not my opinion, this is what they said. The only reason we chose Buckner in this situation was he netted us from the Colts that first round pick at that position. That was their only excuse to it. Was the best compensation we could get back, and we proved it by taking that player with that pick to replace him. That was their justification.
I do recall them saying that, hey, we didn't think we could get a first in return for Armstead. We knew we could get a first in return for Buckner, and it was that difference is why we traded. Go ahead, that Niner guy.
There's one other thing, too. I think if Buckner's deal, we saw a massive, massive bonus. With Armstead, you didn't. You saw a good-sized bonus and now what Rob and I were talking about doing a show, I was going to talk about Eric Armstead's contract and how it's very, very manageable. It's very movable. You can trade him pretty easily. You can restructure him. He's a big candidate for a restructure this year if they're trying to save more cap room because his contract is very team friendly. Buckner's wouldn't have been. Kittle's is not very team friendly. So all the people in the chat saying trade Kittle, what is the deal with that, by the way?
I don't know.
I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
I think it goes.
He's not going in it. They're not trading.
It goes back to what William was talking about earlier, which is this emotional attachment we have to the idea of injured players. I think that it is the simple fact that Kittle does get injured on a pretty regular basis. But to me, the whole argument against using that against George Kittle is that that's what you want. You want a physical player like him to play with that hair on fire attitude. And yes, that's going to lead to some lower leg injuries or a game missed here or there. But the average player in the NFL misses 2 games every year in a 16-game season. I'm sure it's up to 2.5 after a 17-game season. So missing a couple, to me, I'm with you. The trade Kittle thing is an anomaly or a weird belief, in my opinion.
It's great.
I'll say this about Kittle. The love affair that Niners have with Kittle didn't start in 2019. It started in, 2011, something when Jimmy first came and got hurt those 5 games.
You mean 2018? Yeah.
That was
17.
Kittle. Yeah, 17. That was Kittle winning those games for us. He became the number one tight end in the league on that year with Mullins.
Yeah, 18.
That was Kittle carrying our team.
Totally.
It was giving us any hope of winning any games that year when Garoppolo went down. So this team is really invested into Kittle for more reasons than just what people think.
I agree. Getting us back to the original point of the flexibility, I do think that's an important call out as we're getting into that time of year where we're going to be looking at contracts again, where we're going to be looking at what flexibility do we have with this player? Can we extend them? Can we get more money down the road? What we hear reported when someone signs a new contract is what they could potentially earn. What goes into the salary cap is likely to be earned. And for a player like Armstead, much of his contract is not likely to be earned unless he had 3 years in a row of Pro Bowl caliber seasons, and those bonuses then became more likely to hit in future seasons because he had hit them in previous seasons. Whereas Buckner's deal was much more straightforward of like, he is going to make very close to that number that was actually reported. When you look back at Armstead, if you look at the number that was originally reported with the contract with what he ends up earning, I think they will be very different numbers.
But that proves what that Niner guy said. That proves what he says.
It does. That it gives him that flexibility.
They don't value that position.
They don't.
Because if they don't want that guaranteed money. They're basically saying, you better ball to the wall, be an all-pro Aaron Donald, Mr. Armstead. Otherwise, I'll save money.
I like that. William, you had a thought?
Yeah, I'm just saying, when you look at it like this, and this is my opinion, I believe Buckner will be a Hall of Famer. Armstead, how many people look at Armstead and look at him as a Hall of Famer? How many Pro Bowls will you see Armstead actually winning or making? I mean, it's just certain people that you get lucky enough to have on your team that you just like, hey, give him the money.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So I just thought that was a bad move by us.
Let me circle this back down to that Niner guy talking about the original question in it, because I think you got us some great dialogue in there where we took it a little bit off course, but it was really the same conversation, right? And that's what this is all about, is good dialogue. So, but let's get back to, if the Niners do not, if we concede, which I think we have a consensus on the panel that the Niners do not prioritize that as far as where they're going to spend along the D line. Do you then, if they let DJ Jones walk, if they maybe bring back some of the less expensive options of their own, I'm assuming that they probably let Arden Key walk in that logic as well, although he does have that flexibility that you mentioned that the Niners do covet. But let's assume that both of those players are gone. Do they then turn around to the draft and look for cheap labor in that regard?
So this is where this gets tricky, because you ain't going to find those guys.
You're not. You're not.
Again, like, even if we get the 43rd pick, the guys on the board are not guys who are plug and play. You know, that's the thing, is like, so like what I did was kind of prep for what me and Rob have been talking about. Is I've been looking at guys who, like, on most draft boards are in the second round and third round, like realistic guys at 61.
Right. Guys that we can actually draft.
Right. So, like, I understand people want a Debo and Jermaine Johnson. Great. Awesome. Not going to be there. So you got to be somewhat realistic. And I don't like any of them. Like, I like they have talent for sure, but like, this isn't where this team needs to go young. This is where this team needs to continue the strength of its team. Like, kids, keep these guys around. The cap is going to be such a different ball game in 3 years, because it's going to go so far up, and you can kick the can down the road a little bit and not get burned because you have a cheap quarterback.
As long as you have cash, and Jed has plenty of cash.
Yeah, the Yorks are not poor.
No doubt. Levi's is bringing in some serious coin. We may not like it, but Jed freaking loves it.
And Jed got a pretty penny from the TV rights for being in the NFC Championship game. 3 playoff games, the 3 highest rated playoff games, not including the Super Bowl. Yeah, the owners get a nice fat cut of that, even for the road team. And the NFL picked up the expenses for the playoffs. Don't forget that. So that's all profit.
So Sir Juju brings in, why would we let DJ go? Just to clarify, I'm not suggesting that the Niners do not bring back DJ Jones. That was a hypothetical around if they do not value the position, DJ will get offered a reasonable salary from another team. If the Niners don't match that, it will just be a matter of DJ Jones going where the money is. I think that's possible. My assertion, and I want to get all of your thoughts on this, is the biggest priority for the San Francisco 49ers is to get over what they value these positions at and do everything possible to bring back as many of their own free agents as possible, even if it means overpaying a little bit for Laken Tomlinson, Arden Key, or DJ Jones. Because to me, those are the three that are most like. I would add Raheem Mostert to that, because I think the overpay on DJ Jones is not going to be that much. The overpay on Raheem Mostert is not going to be that much. The two big ones will be Tomlinson and Arden Key. They're likely to generate some considerable interest around. But in my book, the Niners should spend to bring these guys back. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about it. I'm going to go the opposite direction this time around. That Niner guy, kick us off. What do you think?
So my priority for free agents is Laken, DJ, Arden Key, and Jaquaski Tart.
Okay.
I think
I like that list.
Those are the top four guys they have to re-sign. I think K1, you let him go to free agency. He's not going to have a lot of suitors. If all else fails, you can always bring him back on a one-year deal, like very similar to what happened this last year. K1's tape wasn't great this year.
No.
He made some plays, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
great.
run defense, he's a very good run defending nickel corner. There are not many of those in the league, but when you do get burned, when you're left out on an island as a slot corner, that's tough to deal with. So, yeah, I agree that in that one, I would say probably let K1 walk, but he may be available real cheap toward the end of free agency. No doubt about it.
Yeah, so like it's all about, kind of the value. And I think those top four guys are the guys who are the ones, if you let them go to free agency, there's a better than not chance they're going to get a deal. Because there are a lot of teams with a lot of cash. The Niners are on the bottom list, even after trading Jimmy. You're still somewhat near the bottom of your salary cap.
And let me point out, people in the chat have called out the idea that the Niners can free up all this cap. And I'm going to guess that's in relation to a recent video that came out from Jesse Naylor that I've not seen yet.
Stole my ideas.
Did he? No. I love it. I love it. So it is, yes, it's possible, but will the Niners clear that type of space? No, because that requires committing to a bunch of players that they don't necessarily want to be committed to long term. Will they restructure one or two of those deals? Yes, they absolutely will. Are the Niners going to end up with 50-some million in available cap space?
No.
I predict it right now. No, they will not. Right. So it's a give and take. They will have to choose who they can bring back.
I think it's realistically like 18 million, because my theory was also extending Nebuchom.
I like
his contract, you can get his number down because he's only guaranteed about $1.6 million this year. And the rest of his $8 million is all non-guaranteed money. So if you can get his cap number to like $4 million, you save another $4 million, you extend Jimmy Ward, and you renegotiate Armstead, I think 15 to 20 million is actually realistic.
I think that sounds fair. Sean 951, what do you think about bringing back their own and spending a little extra to do it, or are you letting some of these guys walk?
I'm going to still stick to what I say about Armstead. I'm not in love with Armstead. Like you mentioned, you depicted, well, that Niner guy, you depicted that the difference between Buckner and Armstead. That's true. Half the games, Armstead's name isn't mentioned. Half the games, he gets a crucial sack on a third down, and it's impressive, but we realize how'd the sack happen? Oh, because there was a stunt with Bosa, or there was a stunt with somebody else. So to me, move Armstead. Someone will take Armstead. I don't even care if you have to eat $5 million. Move Armstead. Give me $15 million. Take that money. Lock up Key. Not lock up. Make sure Key's on our team next year. Make sure Jones is back on our team. Get Fowler, and then at that point in time, you need to figure out how much money is going to cost you for a backup quarterback, because that's the big thing that I'm curious about. Because if you move Jimmy, that's great, but we cannot have Nate Sudfeld back there. And if we don't do my theory, which we don't have to talk about today about who our quarterback
is, it takes us way off the rails, Sean. You know it does. You know it does.
I don't want to go there. But that backup has to be an $8 to $10 million backup. And the odds are Shanahan's probably not going to bring in a backup that doesn't know his system or has previous experience with his system, or LaFleur or the Jets, somebody that runs his system. because they'll never come up to speed. There'll be another Trey Lance behind Trey Lance, right? It's like you're not going to understand nothing. So to me, that's what's crucial in how they play with each other. But I have all the confidence in Parag and the team to make it work, because the one thing we all know, they know. We're in a Super Bowl window. We have the core from 2019 still on this team, minus Buckner. We cannot make mistakes. We have to be strategic, and we have to get a Super Bowl in the next couple of years, or Shanahan and Lynch are in trouble. That's the main reason why Shanahan has one more year than Lynch. They're going to put
they
Lynch
definitely
as the
have to start
scapegoat.
winning. That's for sure.
They have to get a Super Bowl. The Rams just won in our division. We have to get a freaking Super Bowl. And they did it with the quarterback that they took from underneath your nose in Cabo. While you're having beers, they were sitting there chilling, having a massage. So you can't make mistakes. You need to do it right, and you have to move the money where it has to be moved. Even in a couple of years, if it looks daunting, as you mentioned, that Niner guy, we'll roll with where the salary cap is going to go. We're just going to trust that they know a little bit more than we do, and they better make the right decisions monetarily, because it's going to be crucial to our success, especially on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I do agree. I just saw it come in, but I do think that Jordan Willis is a guy that they attempt to bring back. That's a value add for the 49ers if they can bring him back, because he does contribute, but wouldn't be terribly expensive. William, what are your thoughts along this subject?
My thoughts on the subject is, again, it's coming down to the money. Is how the head offices feel about, are they trying to hold on to that money and just think about their pockets? Or they're thinking about, hey, this is our Super Bowl window. We don't have time to bring in rookies or people that are not up to speed and having to get them up to speed. It will not be done in this year, and probably not next year. Right now, this is our window. You need to try to bring back as many as you can. I'm still wouldn't be too hurt if Armstead was traded to free up that money. And the reason why I'm saying that is because a lot of times he's not consistent enough. If he was to get the money that he's making, every time you see them chipping Bosa and all of that, Armstead should be right in there. And he's not. He should be right in there. It's DJ Jones. I'm like, okay, one moment Armstead in there, the next moment he's not. And what teams are Armstead getting in there opposed to teams that we need him to get in there? Yeah. So I'm like, work out a good deal for DJ Jones. We got Bosa, get us a decent edge rusher. But I wouldn't be mad to free up that money for Armstead. I'm not gonna lie. I think that we're good in the way of plugging those holes. Yeah. And creating.
I can't see him actually moving on from Armstead for some of the reasons that we've talked about. His versatility, the simple fact of what he does within the community. But I agree that much of the sentiment we have said here and in the comments, it's coming in. When Armstead is on, he's unstoppable. The problem is that he is inconsistent. I do think
which is
that
Jimmy.
Is the case. Yeah.
Which is Jimmy.
The thing with Armstead,
don't get us on a Jimmy tangent, William. You can't just at the end of a show and be like, oh yeah, by the way, Jimmy Garoppolo, and not expect it to just take this thing off the rails, man.
The thing with Armstead, though, go watch the tape on his sacks this year. Okay. You're not going to find any sacks that happen within the first 4 seconds of the play. All of his sacks are off of Bosa moving the quarterback off the spot. His tall 6 foot, 5,000 inch body sees over the lineman, sees where the quarterback's maneuvering. The lineman doesn't know because he's behind him, and he's quick around, and he gets those long armed sacks. He's not a guy that's an A to B destroyer like an Aaron Donald. He's a guy that benefits off of Bosa and the guys around him that move him from his spot to then collect the sack. You see it many, many times with him. That's why, to me, most anybody can do that, but they don't all play with Bosa, and our ferocious complementary pass rush. So he's a beneficiary of that.
Yeah. I think that's a fair statement. Definitely a fair statement. You'd like to get consistency from him. Well, to me, the bottom line is you want to try to bring back as many of these free agents as possible. We got to wrap the show because we've just gone long because it's a roundtable and I'm enjoying myself. But I wanted to give you guys all an opportunity to put in some closing statements, if you will, to make your case, whatever you want to talk about. William, if you want to drop a Jimmy Garoppolo comment in there, you go right ahead because it is your time. But it is the closing statement, so they got to be somewhat brief. That Niner guy, you want to kick us off? We'll go back in that same order.
Yeah, from the community standpoint, I want to say let's thank Rob because I like this show a lot better than some of the other shows who are a little more negative. It's nice to be able to have a nice, calm place to have a discussion.
It's
nice. It's nice, right?
Very nice.
Yeah. I just hope all general managers turn that Madden trade logic on and just give us like 2 1s and a 2 for Jimmy.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Sean 951 Niners, what do you think about for that closing statement, man?
Well, he's spot on about you, brother. As you know, I've told you this last week. There's never been a show that I've seen of yours where you ask somebody about a topic and it diverts into their appreciation for what you do. So that's not just us, my man. I mean, at some point, the common denominator has to be that beard up there, right? So, but all I'll say about this until next Thursday is it's just another week in the offseason of speculation and listening to everybody tell their opinions out there on TV and online. So, hey, on to next week. Have a great week, faithful. And I look forward to talking about something tangible rather than speculation.
Yes, please let something happen. But I love the conversation. It's what I'm here for. I love the dialogue. Even when it's all speculation, I don't care. That's what I'm here for. William, what you got for us?
I guess I'll make it unanimous. Rob, you know how I feel about your show. I think is positive, is great content. I think you really open up a platform for us, the faithful who are stationed all over the United States, if not the world, to come on and, and vent our frustrations and speculate on the future of the Niners. And as the fella said before, it's positive. You have so many other shows that are just so negative or just so money driven or clickbait, but I really, really appreciate your show. I really appreciate that you're a fan, not just a commentator, but a fan of the team. And I'm just ready for to get through these 6 months, get back to the get to the combine, get back to football, get into the Trey Lance era.
Yes, bring on the Trey Lance era. Well, gentlemen, I thought this was a wildly successful off-the-cuff roundtable that we did here. I want to thank all 3 of you for coming on, and I hope to see all 3 of you again, and maybe we'll make this same roundtable happen. I think it's money. So a pleasure to have all you guys on. Cheers to all of you. Right on, gentlemen. I appreciate you all. I'm going to take a couple of minutes to say what's up to the people as I head out, but I will see all you guys in the coming weeks for sure. Thank you so much for being a part of the roundtable. Have a good one, gentlemen. All right, I saw a couple of people coming in, talking about people from all over the place coming in. I saw someone commenting about being a fellow Oregonian. I want to give a shout out. I can't find the comment right now, but I want to give a shout out to anyone that is watching from the great state of Oregon. Dr. David English coming in from South Korea. I appreciate all of you that support the show, no matter where you are coming in from, whether it's somewhere in this great country of ours or whether it is abroad in this great world that we live in. Either one means something to me. And I want to say thank you to everybody who called out the idea of attempting to keep it positive. And I definitely do that. It's a conscious effort on my part. Sir Juju coming in, absolutely respectful. Agree to disagree like men. I couldn't have said that better myself, Sir Juju. It is about being okay with having differing opinions. Like, when in this country did we get to a point where you had to hate someone that you disagreed with? It's ridiculous. And we cannot allow that to happen in life, let alone in sports, damn it. Like, sports is supposed to be what brings us together, what takes us into a place of joy. And so, I got to say thank you. Randall Riley, Sneakerhead coming in. Common denominator is Schuh and his demand for respectful dialogue. I do demand that. I don't demand it. I respectfully ask for respectful dialogue. I respectfully request that anyone that comes on this show to contribute keeps it as positive as they can, even when they're being critical, right? There's different ways to go about being critical. You can call out a player for not living up to their potential, for not performing on the field as they should, without name calling that player, without dragging them through the mud, without turning them into a joke of a person, because that's a real human being you're doing that to. That is a real, that person has a mother. That person has a father. Like, all these, they have brothers, sisters, friends, and you're going to do that to, like, no. Treat people respectfully. That's how I try to live my life, and so that's how I try to run the channel, and it really means something to me that comes across. I try to live my life that way. I try to come from a place of kindness, and I just want to say thank you to everyone that recognizes that is where I come from. Bay Area Baller is the newest sneakerhead on the channel. Bay Area Baller, cheers to you, man. I enjoy your vibe as well. You're a good dude. And yeah, man, it's just it's about being kind to one another. That's my stance on it. I appreciate all of you for being here, for hanging out as long as you did. I thought it was a fantastic show. I really enjoyed that roundtable. I look forward to doing this again next week. As always, I will be back on tomorrow at 3 p.m. with Jack Hammer. I believe that I'm going to be on with Grant Cohn. I want to double check with him before I commit to that, but I should be on with him on his channel. And we'll be back on my channel at 3 with Jack Hammer. So until then, you know the drill. Cheers, faithful.